Good afternoon. Welcome to a Wednesday afternoon. We have Public Works. Are you still figuring out the computer, Mike?
I'm not.
We could be a while.
I need some help.
Should we go out and get fresh coffee?
Where's my newspaper at? Thanks, Bailey. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. We have a few agenda items for the 1:30 before we move into our budget items. Starting off with a question you guys were asked on Monday was a water meter install update, and Savannah has an update from that.
Good morning, Savannah Clement, Public Services. So we still are about a third of the way through for the water meter installs. We are looking at some staff shortages. We only have a 5-person crew, and we've got a couple members off for a couple months on leave, so that will slow things down. We anticipate having a full rollout, fingers crossed, in spring with all of the meters. So not a ton of progress, but I think there's some valid reasons, not really related to the meters themselves, but just our kind of internal operations, but we're getting there. I did have a follow-up. Commissioner Farrell, you had asked quite a few meetings ago about the range of our meter systems. And I did follow up, and I thought it'd be a good time today to bring it up. So you'd asked, how far away do they track for the drive-by system, which Riderwood's our most densely populated area with the new meters, and we started there first. The water sewer operators told me, given really good conditions such as line of sight, no big obstacles, boulders, that kind of thing, it's about a quarter of a mile in range in good prime conditions. So hopefully that helps answer that question from quite a while ago.
So for the most part, they can just drive down the road and pick up all the meters.
Yes, and especially, Riderwood's a great example for just how many houses are in the area and a small area that we serve. Camelot would be another good one, which we haven't started install there yet. It will likely be our next install, just because there's so many people down there, like Riderwood.
So they're putting out some type of a signal, obviously.
Yeah, we actually had to FCC. We had to get like a license because of that signal. We were required to, but that was through our contract, so we didn't have to deal with that, thankfully. But yes, so that radio signal that they're transmitting, we had to get a special license to use it and use that frequency.
So the water going through the meter charges the battery in it, or what, in order to keep the signal working?
It doesn't charge the battery. That would be really cool if they did that. But no, it doesn't charge the battery. It's just their long-term ion batteries that we will have to replace. I think their last, if I remember, which I didn't study up on it, but when we were going through the documents, they're good for about 10 years. I think around that time, right? Weather, coldness, that kind of thing. Hot temperatures can affect that, but we plan to have to replace the batteries in about that time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I've asked before, and the ones we put in, they're doing the things we ask them to do. We're not seeing any wild bills or anything like that.
I will say that I don't remember the quantity, but on a certain amount of ones that were installed, they were programmed inaccurately by the vendor, which we had no awareness of until we ran a billing cycle, and the bills were like, oh my gosh, we anticipated seeing an increase in some just because of some of the meters' ages, right? But they were like, it was crazy. So Tracy McDaniel and our water sewer team in accounting started auditing that and realized that they were set up wrong. Instead of, I think, and I could have this backwards, but instead of a half a meter, instead of a 3/4 meter, they were set up as half, so or vice versa. So the consumption was completely wrong. So we had to go back and redo those and have those recalibrated. So that's been the biggest hiccup, is that they were programmed wrong on the pallet, on that batch.
But when you get correct bills, were they comparable with the last ones? We're not, people aren't seeing any.
Nothing substantial like what we thought we were gonna,
Good.
like what we saw. So that's good.
Great. We'll move on to number 2, quick update on the north lot. As you know, we got paved about 6 weeks ago. Still waiting on lighting. Unfortunately for us, it's still in engineering, I think through the city of Kelso, to get permitted for the bases, to get the light poles up. Core Electric is doing that install for us. They updated us this morning as they're hoping to have their engineering back from city of Kelso this week. If we don't get them up soon, we'll have some temporary lighting in place because we know daylight savings time is 1st of November, a bit dark, when people are getting off work. So we'll make sure we have a lighted parking lot. At the same point, when we get that done, installed over there, we'll put some beauty bark between the north parking lot and the Wazoo campus over there. But also, we've been looking at planters, boxes for shrubbery in the front or north lot. Right now, the pricing we've got is pretty high because we're trying to get something custom made because they're going to be pretty large planters. So now we're going to go back to the drawing board, maybe get something not so custom. The last number I got was like $34,000 for 3 planters boxes. And we said, no, thanks.
Eagle Scouts out there?
True. So we're going to do a little different fabrication on those and get something made, but it might be something we do this winter and get something planted in the springtime. It's probably not ideal to get something planted in November, December. So
And we gotta have an engineer for a street light.
we didn't know that till we were told. Yes, correct. For a street light, you do. Yeah, correct.
Okay, I won't comment.
So we're moving forward. We did move that ballot box. It was on this side of the south end of the lot. We put it back to where it was. So it's also good for tax payment drop-offs, but also ballots. So that's back to where it was before and has some ballards around to protect it. So that project's hopefully coming to an end soon. And next one's Savannah Hall of Justice HVAC update.
Yeah, so I haven't been to the board in a couple weeks, but we're continuing to move forward. We are still on schedule. There's been some pretty significant jury trials at the Superior Court recently, so we were kind of concerned that might set us back, and I think I mentioned that last time I was here, but we're still on track as far as construction goes. That team is going to be moving into the 911 space to redo all the ceiling tiles and lighting there, and once they're out of that space, they're going to start working more on that second floor and first floor. So big update I think people are excited about is the new lighting that's going in. You know, who knew, but people are excited to see that going in. I think it'd be great once that basement area is done, if you guys want to kind of do a walkthrough, because it does give a little bit of, a taste of what the rest of the building will look like moving forward. We were able to meet with our project coordinator, I guess he's a project manager, Anthony with Millig. He's out of Quebec, Canada. So he flew in. The last time we've seen him in person was at a stakeholder meeting. So he's in town. Actually, we met with him this morning and he'll be in through the end of the week. And he's just on site checking to make sure things are going well. And so far they are. So far so good. Knock on wood. So now the bigger challenge for us as far as planning goes, because a lot of our efforts, with Kelly and others involved, have been trying to get people in their new space, their temporary space, smoothly, efficiently, and keeping people happy on that front. And now we're starting to have those conversations about moving them back. And so that kind of was our conversation this morning with the courts, is now we're moving people back to their previous spaces and getting people into the space that they were in, the hotel space, like the next day. So now we're kind of working on a whole new set of challenges, but I think we've got a pretty good method and game plan in place. And IT's been great too. So I think I mention that every time, but it's been going pretty well. So.
I know we talked about the issue with the cleanup. Have you been responsive to that?
Yeah, so in talking with Anthony, so Monday mornings we were coming, I say I was not. Facilities and actually some Superior Court staff were finding that there was some dust and debris. They were responsible then for cleaning it up because nobody was on site at that time. And so that happened for about a Monday or two in a row, getting a hold of Anthony and letting Millig know they're looking to hire actually a cleaning service. So they had already hired a cleaning service to do it after construction was complete in the zone, right? To get it all ready for people to move back, but they hadn't anticipated they were going to have so many challenges in cleaning up after their weekend crew. So they're actually going to look to hire another cleaning crew, probably the same one, which is ServPro, which is a local-ish company, come up and do Sunday cleanings too. So to try to curb that. We hadn't, this Monday actually went really, really well. Didn't get any complaints. And when meeting with the courts this morning, they actually said the same thing, that it looked pretty good. So it's good. We're moving in the right direction on that. Any other questions? I'll just roll right into the admin and facade update. So we have a scheduled interior kind of examination of what's going on the inside, which I kind of talked to you guys about a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately for us, that's going to be taking place in the elections area of the building. So we're having to wait until the election season's over and the counting is over. And Carolyn, Fundingland's crew kind of recommended that first weekend in December. So the internal identification of some of those problems isn't going to happen until then. So we still won't have a great idea probably until mid to late December on what our plan of action will be for that repair. So,
Yeah. And I mentioned this to Savannah yesterday in chatting with Joel McIntyre, and yesterday I said, I'm just letting you know, you can expect a capital improvement request from us for historical building facade. And just so they were aware.
no, and I appreciate that. We'll need a lot of funding support for this. It will not be cheap. I know Kathy, though, in her previous experience in running some facilities and capital projects in her past career, she mentioned some pretty cool, features that they had done for some historic buildings, and so we'll be looking at that. Also, the 2-year grant cycle for Washington State Historical Courthouse buildings, which is I think I mentioned again this before, opens up in June of this year, and so it's a 2-year opportunity. So we'll need to make sure we get that application in to be eligible for those two.
So I noticed we've got a sandwich board out at the south entrance that a part of the time it was up, it said that that entrance was closed, use the east entrance. And then voting week started, so now it's pushed off to the side and it says vote here to come in that door.
So that should only be on Fridays that entrance is closed. So if that was up during the week, then that was done in error. That entrance is only closed on Fridays for court.
Okay,
It is still open and available to the public and unlocked. It just sounds like maybe it wasn't put aside all the way or wasn't turned around so that maybe it looked like it was closed, but I'll make sure. Mike's making sure we make a note of it.
okay.
So for voting, that entrance is open, just Fridays only. Okay. Okay, mine's also the next one. Do you mind handing these to them? So our last item today is a space allocation request. This is part of the CTIP policy process. And so departments who want to move into space or move out of space or give up space, which never happens, we've asked that they complete this process. And so before, it was a policy that required the departments to submit kind of a letter. And since we've changed the policy and it is very new, Noxious Weeds is the department making the request. And this is the first time going through the process for both them and the committee. So they did it both ways. So you have a letter in front of you, which I think is pretty valuable with the narrative. And then also you have the form that we ask them to complete, which is just part of the new revised policy. I know that Jennifer and her team with Beth, they're here. But I will go ahead and explain the process. And so Jennifer did submit these 2 documents about a month ago. The CTIP committee met. She did a little brief presentation, and then afterwards, the committee voted anonymously, and they did vote to make a recommendation to allow them back to their space in the annex to the board. And so that is the committee's recommendation. There is a caveat in there that we will be using that space, as I mentioned before, for the Hall of Justice HVAC project. And that the only department we have slated to go into that space right now is the PA's office, and they'll be moving in January through mid-February. So just want to present that to the board. And
So the committee looked this over and said, makes sense to us.
yeah,
And the only caveat I'm hearing is if we okay it, we're just waiting till we're done with over here. So we make sure that we have hotel space for people.
right. There was some conversation and questions to me about what the potential future use of that building will be, and if that would, kind of limit Noxious Weeds' ability to use that space. And of course, I didn't have any concrete answers. I did share that I know a lot of departments have been looking at the building because we get questions about measurements and floor plans. But I can't speak to maybe future plans to what that looks like. And so I couldn't really answer that for the committee. So I did get some responses that were like, well, making sure that we can use that space for the HOJ project and assuming there's no future use, okay, or yes. So there's just a lot of unknowns. So
Well, isn't really any space if some type of thing came up and, well, just like with OPD, we said, okay, hey, we're gonna have to move these people.
Mm.
So then we made that decision. That can happen at any time.
It could, yeah. And with Noxious Weeds specifically, theirs was a little different in that they were forced out, not because of OPD necessarily, but we had that water damage, right?
Water damage.
Yeah, and so that kind of played into it as well.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's really hard to set a space to say, well, we don't know what we're gonna use it for, so we're gonna keep it empty till we
Right,
figure it out.
yeah.
And I think that's kind of a waste, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think by, and Jennifer may have better and more information than I do, but I think the county's responsibility is to provide, adequate usable space for noxious weeds. And that, that's kind of our role, and where that space is up to the county and the board. And so it's really, like you said, dependent upon what we may need to use it for.
Yeah.
This might be a question for Jennifer, but you would probably know the answer. Moving into that bigger space, we're going to be going with the new current rent rates. Jennifer, how does that affect the budget that we've got for what we have allocated for rent?
Hi, Jennifer Mendoza with Noxious Weeds. To answer your question, our program measured out the space there compared to the space that we have now. And if we don't include the bike room space, which currently we have because of our space now, so it's actually going to be less than the budgeted amount because the square footage should be less. The square foot rate is the same because the two buildings, correct me if I'm wrong, are built at the same square footage rate to tenants.
Yeah. The bike room would probably continue to be used. I would imagine you would want to use it for storage or entrance exits. So I'm guessing, we don't have another department that wants just the bike room. So I'm guessing they would use that as well. But yeah, so there's an allocation. It's the same facilities allocation. We don't charge them rent or a lease. They're only charged what the facilities allocation is for every other department that's not general fund.
And you're going to incur whatever costs are required for the move, your department?
I believe so. I don't anticipate many costs. We plan on moving our things primarily ourselves with very little help from facilities, probably just the really big cabinets, and maybe a small amount of setup time from IT, but we also think we could manage some of that ourselves. So just where we really, really need the help to move over there, but there shouldn't be a whole lot of costs otherwise. The biggest.
Imagine their board and their commissioner liaison will help move stuff over.
That would be fun, bonding experience. The biggest expense that we really anticipate is to reprint our materials again with our new old address, but we do that each winter anyway. In case there's updated information on our fact sheets, we review those in the winter. So now is the time to decide what address to put on those things before we start our printing project. So
I hate to admit this, I haven't been in the annex yet. How many floors is it?
the annex has 3 floors.
How much of it you're gonna occupy?
Half of the first floor, or less than half. I think it's less than half.
It's half of the functional space that's usable in there. It's 3 stories, but only 2 are usable. The 3rd story is completely storage. Love to take you in there. Maybe. Is it cleaned up?
Is there an elevator in that building?
There is. Yeah. Mhm.
Does it work all the time better than this one?
Well, it's not been used for like a year. So yeah, it works great. No, but it does
I think we took parts off it today to get this.
to get this one working.
It's worked.
Was that where you got the part?
Yeah, they couldn't find a certain part, so the
Because I saw the
recommendation was,
email, and then came out and I saw it was working. I said, well, they must have
they
got,
couldn't find a certain parts. I think they,
yeah.
Bob,
We haven't discovered a tuberculosis ward on the 3rd floor of that building.
On the annex? No. On this building? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a secret door above HR. It's pretty crazy.
So you're looking for just,
Just board
We're-
direction on whether or not Jennifer and her team can move back into the annex into
Sorry.
space, previous
The-
space they used.
whether we just want to know if we accept the CIP
Yep, and the recommendation from the committee.
recommendation.
Mhm.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it, sure.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have no issues. I do have another question. Since it's a separate building, how's the electric bill work for the county? Are the individuals buildings billed separately?
So it really depends, but we have multiple accounts and by locations. It really depends on where the meter's at and how it serves it on annex and admin. Do you know off the top of your head? They're shared. So It's really not
Okay.
going to affect that. I mean, but for the Hall of Justice, for example, the boathouse is on a completely different meter than the hall. It's really nice for those in there that can use that space when there's no power at the hall because they have power, different meter, different account.
Are they shared in the common areas also? Are they included in that rent over there in the annex?
Their square footage is only, and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really only like occupied space. Now, I don't know that, I don't think we charge square footage with the break room and the fridge and all, and the restrooms are all common. I don't think we do that. Yeah, I think it's just their office space.
Okay.
So I'm seeing head nods, I'm hearing yes, so I think that's thumbs up. So thank you for going through that process and being the first victim slash
Thank you for letting me
volunteer.
be a guinea pig. I'll work
Good
with,
move on the weekend,
who
right?
should I work with on timing? Because I know we'll need to wait.
So yeah, what I'll do is just give you kind of the on or around date that they're moving out, they being the PA's office, which might fit into your springtime target. So fingers crossed. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Before we move to budget, do you guys have any miscellaneous items for Public Works?
You.
Okay, great.
The houses that we own, are they being occupied?
The two houses, the Janus houses? Or you have other ones?
Well, Dallas asked me about houses that we own and if they're being occupied. And I'm not sure if it was the Janus houses or if we have other houses that we own.
Those two, right?
I don't think Janice is how, that's not.
I
the
think
only house.
Janice is it. And I know they're occupied. That
Yeah,
was
we
it,
have
right?
the two homes on Washington Street next to the coroner's office, and those are, we recently released to Janice House.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I'll let him know.
We're going to pass out a few items before we jump into budget.
Thank you. Oh, that's a heavy, that's all right.
Thank you.
Where the hell do you get paper that big?
You don't want the vent.
Oh, I don't care. You got bigger?
I'll wait for it. Wait. Either that or I need thicker glasses.
This is everything you sent over email, just in print? Okay,
Sometimes it's nice to have some of the hold and look at.
yeah.
Appreciate you sending that over. I saw, late last night, I saw that it was in my email.
I wish I sent it earlier. We had some last minute changes, so it came this morning sometime.
That was good.
I've been in meetings all morning, so I haven't got to look at your
Sure, we'll say it last night then.
attachments, but I appreciate the thought.
But yeah, I would echo that. I always appreciate that because at least I get a chance to scan it and see if anything pops out.
So we're going to start off with a big piece of paper on page 2 there. And the packet's kind of small, the organizational chart. So we decided to give you a bigger copy here to read through, just because we have a lot of different divisions and different, of course, people running different divisions. And so we try to color code it. So on the left-hand side there, you can see the county engineer, Susan, in charge of quite a few items there. We have the interim assistant county engineer, but also below that, you have stormwater, diking, and then also a roads engineer, landfill engineer, county survey crew, and construction manager. So, and the number of people below them. So she has quite a bit of a big team there on the engineering side, all in green on the left-hand side. And we both share a little bit of the middle green. That's the road operations manager. The arrow goes to both Susan and myself. I think CRAB requires the operations and roads report to a county engineer, but she kind of shares that duty with our team overseeing roads. So public services director, we have 2 people under public services. That's me and Savannah, but under us is the following. First is solid waste in orange. So we do have a compliance manager at the landfill, but also 2 solid waste supervisors, and then a compliance specialist, 14 operator 3s. Those are the people running the equipment at the landfill, and then an office specialist. And then the right-hand side in blue, we have Savannah, and then we have our managers, the finance manager, Sean Rowe, and then our facilities manager, Aaron, business manager, Tracy, and safety operations, Justin, with purchasing and facilities, accounting, office staff, all below that. So quite a few people under the organizational chart. We try to break this out and have as least amount of arrows for you guys to follow as possible, but we're kind of all over the board with, purchasing, landfill, solid waste, water, sewer, all that fun stuff. So one more point, down below road operations, we have the shops, the Castle Rock shop, Kelso shop, Longview, Kalama, but also ER&R where our mechanics are at. But we have two shops that also oversee additional people. So the Castle Rock shop, which is ran by Rodney Gardner, has utility operations. That's our water sewer crew. They report to Rodney. And also parks with Alyssa Dunn and Megan, they report to Rodney also. And under the Kalama shop, which is Bob Douglas, he also has vegetation control, which is our spray team, and our sign shop, which is 3 people that work on all our signs around the county. And then they're the ones who get called out for any emergencies or road barriers or road blockades, or if someone runs through a stop sign at 3 in the morning and needs to be put back up, they're the ones who get the call. So
All the shops have their own manager now, right?
they do, yeah.
We're sharing.
Yep, we're
for a
no
while.
longer sharing Kalama and Kelso. That is correct, yeah. So any questions on the org chart?
Are we coming along with the description on the one? Yeah. We've been working on that.
Savannah Public Services, so we're pretty close. I think,
Pretty close.
we have a draft already, ready to go. We just need to kind of do some final touches. I thought maybe we were also speaking to that engineer in training we talked about that would do dual diking district. We just had an engineer who we just hired. He had some personal stuff going on anyway. He put in his notice. And so we're looking to potentially fill that vacancy with that engineer in training with the diking district support.
Okay.
So just a heads up on that since
All
you
right.
gave me the opportunity.
So slide number 3, just a little background on our roads. As I mentioned before, the 4 shops under upper operations, we have 72 employees working in the road division on slide 3. Some of our major activities, of course, is winter operations. We had a big winter ops meeting on Monday, making sure we had chains and snow bits, snowplow bits, grader bits, salt, sand, mag, everything we need for de-icing roads. We know those cold conditions are right around the corner for us. So want to make sure we have everything in order. Emergency response throughout the year. And also a big program for us is the chip seal program that you guys are quite aware about. What we do, ditching, brushing, working on culverts, road maintenance, spray, road signs, and of course in the office, finance and engineering. So other divisions like water, sewer and stuff not added on here because they're not under the roads division, but with 72 employees, we're spread out, of course, all throughout the county. So what we accomplished, a few of the accomplishments this year on the road maintenance side, we did chip seal a little bit over 63 miles of road. And working with Lakeside as our contractor this year, overlaid 19,000 tons, which is about 30 million pounds of asphalt.
Wow.
And then our road crews, of course, ditching, brushing, and those type of items. We did about 3,800 miles every year on average because we have to go through every road every time. Ditching is one thing, but brushing and mowing is a different thing. Striping is a different thing. So yeah, we on the road systems a lot throughout the year.
When we do asphalt overlay, we're literally just overlaying another layer, right? We're not taking up the old stuff and recycling it.
It depends.
Yeah.
So Susan might come up and talk, but I'll take a hack job at it as well. If there's curb, we have to grind as well. But Susan will have a much more eloquent explanation.
So as Sean said, the urban area, the roads with curb and gutter, we do need to grind those down because if you just keep overlaying, you feather it in and you end up with steep cross slopes. And so people can't get out of their driveway anymore because to match the curb line, otherwise you fill up that gutter and you end up with a curb this high. So we do have to grind those areas down. They do take that back and recycle it. There will be other roads that will grind down if they're overly distressed and it looks like the underlayer is better, we'll grind them down and do an overlay, especially on overpasses and bridges, because every time you overlay a bridge, you add that many more pounds to it, and then it eventually impacts your pavement rating. So a lot of the rural roads, which were originally chip seals, we just overlay. We have been known to go out and you'll dig up 2-3 feet of asphalt, then you'll hit some rock and you'll hit some more asphalt on roads that are notorious sliders. So Kalama River Road, we find it, Lane Road, some of our other roads will find areas where we have a foot of asphalt where we just keep overlaying and chip sealing and overlaying and chip sealing. I know the city of Kelso also has several roads like that. When you have an area that slides, you'll just go and overlay it, just hope for the best.
I'll bet you that little section when you get out of Lexington, that on 411. I
Yeah,
bet you that's
that's deep. And so and that kind of is, well, do I want to remove the asphalt because it's adding more weight,
Yeah.
but then do I really want to dig down and open it up and make it move? So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
always
I'm just glad that's the state.
yeah.
So for example, the north lot here, of course, being curb around it, the lakeside did have to grind the parking lot first before they paved. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
So next slide on number 5, we have a summary page that Sean gave for each of our budgets, but he'll go over the high points of it. Then we'll go through the summary page. So on page 5 here, I'll Sean talk about our major revenues coming in for 2026.
So for 2026 roads, we're gonna look at our revenues first, and the first place to start at is our beginning fund balance. We know we have money in there and we need to spend it down. We're anticipating about 16.3 million to start the year. Throughout the year, through our taxes, that being property, timber taxes, leasehold taxes, or any other kind, we're looking at about 16.65 million in revenue there. Grants being both state, federal, or local ARPA dollars or any other nature of those, we're looking about $11.934 million. State allocations, which is going to be motor vehicle fuel tax, MVA, maybe some cap dollars, or approximately 2.611 million. Interest, we're holding out about $500,000. We're hoping to spend the money down so we earn less interest. And then miscellaneous, we're going to have our reimbursable work for guardrail hits. Maybe we're doing some work for a city, any kind of other miscellaneous items in there. So giving us a rough and summarized picture to the categories. And we can talk more in detail about any of those in specifics if you like.
So in that miscellaneous, like when you chip sealed out in Castle Rock, that's where that would go.
That's where that would go, yes, sir.
Yeah.
On the next slide. And this is where that supplemental details out. Labor and benefits, we're looking at a little over $9.5 million. Supplies, we spend about $3 million a year. Of those, about 1.9 is our allocation for the chip seal program. That's gonna be the road oil and oil rock. The rest of our rock and asphalt materials is about another $400,000. Services, we're looking about 9.5 million. 1/3 of that's gonna be the overlay program. We allocate $3 million for that program annually. ER&R is another big part of that for our capital equipment needs, and that's that hourly fee that they charge on there. And then internal services that we pay out is about another 1.5 million. That's gonna cover our insurances, our IT, HR, all that good jazz. And then finally, we come down to capital projects, just shy of $17 million. Now, that doesn't align with Susan's number from yesterday because we do have what we consider internal costs, the engineering side, our surveyor side, inspectors, right-of-way. And then some of those projects would be considered maintenance programs like slide repairs. So we don't actually recapitalize that. We're returning it to a previous state. And then if we get this all accomplished, we should bring our balance down to about 9.4. of that 9.4, we're estimating to have about $1 million of FEMA money in there. So that's money that's been pre-awarded to us for their small projects. And so we still have that being held. So 8.4 of free dollars with another $1 million of FEMA pre-award money on top of that.
What plans do you have to spend that down? And how are you planning on spending it down?
So we usually like to keep a certain amount, of course, for emergency operations. And we usually don't like to go below that. What I think Susan and Sean feel comfortable with is going into the winter months, about $7 million to $8 million in there.
Yeah, that's right. $7 million really gives us the ability to make it to April, being our first infusion of monies. We usually like to, on a normal year with projects, our local matches are going to be spent in that August, September time period before the next infusion of property taxes. Or if there's a heavy reimbursement on a grant program, we're usually looking 30 to 60 days to get reimbursement back. If it's a FEMA project for a large style one, it's significantly longer. Keeping up on our maintenance programs, keeping up on our chip seal programs, keeping those roads in good condition is a priority.
How long have you guys maintained that balance?
When we first started in 2017 at Public Works, we had a balance very similar to this. And we had board direction to get that spent down. And we did that the next 2 summers pretty rapidly.
Especially 2020. I'm one of the crazy people who had one of the highest capital program that the Public Works Department has ever run was 2020, believe it or not. We had a $18 or $19 million construction summer where we went crazy. And my hope is that this summer, by doing the South Cloverdale, and here's the project, as I said yesterday, that's my big, I may not spend the budget down if we can't do Dyke Road, because that has a $4 million local funds on it. If we do that project and our other projects with their matches, we will be spending the budget down, that balance down to Sean's. If Dyke Road doesn't go, this 9 million will be probably more like 14. Just that one project because of the local dollars. There is a potential, some of our smaller projects that I have scheduled for 2027 could move up, but they will still not make a $5 million gap. We could add some more to overlay, which we've done in the past when we have projects that slip. Slip is not the good word, deferred. So our big plan is to get these big corridor projects done, the South Cloverdale where we have a big match and the Dyke Road where we have that really big match. To get those done, we will spend that back down.
Yeah, we certainly don't feel comfortable with the fund balance being that high. Knowing the projects are in the queue, we just got to get them out of the queue and get them accomplished, because if it continues to be at 12, 15, $18 million, then the road fund shift is in play. And we know that, so
The interest is nice, but it's still.
agree,
Yeah.
spending on taxpayer dollars. Yeah.
So if you're successful, it'll spend down to where? Roughly. What do you have left if you actually spend everything you're anticipating?
9.4 million.
That'll be the,
Yeah.
That's our
And
anticipated
$1 million of that is
2026.
FEMA.
And yeah, $1 million, that's FEMA, so it'll be actually cash on hand, be 8.4 million.
so what's your comfortable number that you'd like to see it running in approximately year over year?
The year ending at 7 to 8 is a comfortable number, especially if we have storm events and floating us through to our major revenue points in the year.
Okay,
April and October.
Because we can spend, I had them pull it for me, a 1-day storm event or a multiple day storm event, we can spend $500,000 in a week. If we have a lot of stuff going on and we're hauling in rock and everybody's working overtime and pulling debris, we spend a lot of money fast in a disaster, which is why we like that number to be where it is, because we need that float until the federal government steps in and helps to reimburse us.
okay.
So this year, I don't have worries on cash flow. Like we talked about, August, September is our big project years. on years when we do start that $7 to $8 million beginning balance, we have to plan our projects accordingly so that we do have the cash flow to get through those high spend periods.
So if you guys want to turn to one of the sheets that Sean gave you also, one that's called Road Fund Summary on the top. We have one for each of our departments there. So in the highlights, Sean can go through this a little bit, but the ones in pink are the ones that may have some numbers that have changed a little bit from the year past. So the ones that aren't pink, we probably kept the same budget. Really hasn't been a lot of changes for the next 2 years from 26, 25, 26, 27, but anything that's in pink has had a little bit of a change that Sean can go through.
Yeah, and most of these, we know that our labor contracts are increasing, so we do expect to see our direct labor costs increasing. We did get a nice boon from the retirement this year with the reduction of our PERS rate, so we take advantage of that as well. Sign and traffic control, we need to keep our signs up and going. That also does include part of our some of our snow items in there. Nothing too significant, but keeping that going. Coming on the back page, internal service funds for insurance. We all know what insurance looks like. Everyone's paying a little bit more. And then our interfund professional services, that's going to be where we charge our HR and, OFM budget fees like that. Our industrial time loss, it went down. So thank you, Kathy. Auditor services, we do have to pay the auditor to cut our fees. It's a small increase there overall. And then, of course, the biggest one is our construction programs. And we kind of just talked about that. When a lot of these numbers do look flat, I'm going to take the overlay project. We allocated $3 million to that this year. And to do that, we develop our program to spend that value of money. So for example, in 2025, we had a really good bid come in for our overlay. So you guys saw change order number 1 come in on that to bring that back to our anticipated spend on there to really get as much of that on the road as we can.
In the bottom of page 2, you can see the totals there, $40 million in expenses budgeted for this year, $39 million for 26 and $36.7 million for 27. A lot of that is construction project driven. So when you see millions of dollars in drop, it's because we're going from 18 million in construction to $14 million in construction. So right above it. Other than that, most of our line items had very minimal, if any, changes in it.
Mhm.
We've tried to stay status quo. You guys ready to move on to solid waste, or you have more questions on roads? Or does Kathy have anything to need to add? Okay.
$6,300 on internet?
We provide
What do we
internet.
do on the internet for 63?
We have to provide internet to all of our shop locations so they can access time cards, all that good jazz. So we do have quite a few locations that we have to provide internet for outside of our local shops, which is ran by AT.
Okay.
All right. Next, slide 8 on solid waste for 26, 27. This first slide, just a little bit breakdown from the last couple of years. So you can see our tonnage at the landfill. 2023, we did 792,000 tons. Last year, 758. This year, we're anticipating could be in about 765,000 tons. So pretty consistent on the tons. As you know, we've had some better contracts in place and increases in contracts with some of our customers. So we went from 27 million in sales this year, anticipating to be about 29 million in sales, even though we went down about, 25,000 tons in those 2 years. We went up a couple $1 million in sales.
And
So
what's our Is our limit 1 million?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
Each year we try to be around 800,000 and that a lot of that depends on one-offs. We have a certain amount of contracts that we know we're gonna get the volume no matter what. But we do have, daily calls or weekly calls for people who want to bring in C&D debris or just MSW waste. So we have to have room for some of that capacity, but
Yeah.
800,000 to 1 million tons, we kind of like to leave that some headroom in case the project is, major projects happening at one of the ports or one of the mills in town.
Is the 1 million something we instituted or is that our license?
The 1 million is the permitted value for that.
Okay.
And we want to stay away from that 1 million so that it extends, we have longevity and capacity.
Correct. So we have about 60 years left in life.
Yeah, so the official date that we have on our financial analysis annually is 2082. Went from April to October. And that is a straight line on there, not assuming any recovered space. So that does grow annually as we do that.
It's good.
Yeah, so 2082, we know we do flights over the landfill every 6 months.
Mhm.
And in the last 6 month cycled, our top section dropped 10 feet,
Yeah.
10 feet
Yeah.
in 6 months. So we gain a lot of airspace back that we can resell again. So that 2082 is going to turn into, if we stay at this volume, it's going to turn into 2083, 2024. It'll keep extending out.
As long as the state and the laws
Well,
allow us to
that's
continue.
always,
Yeah,
always the question.
yeah.
So we anticipate about the same volume right now, depending on what kind of jobs come in. We know we're in the middle of about a 35,000 ton project for the Port of Longview for the rail expansion. We've got a little bit of that debris in so far, but it's kind of been on hold.
Mhm.
So it might come in some of it this year and some of it might be in 2026.
You know,
That's $1 million project for us
Yeah.
for sales.
and I think what you've pointed out, even though it stays fairly consistent, the shift from industrial to municipal
Correct.
has gone in our favor.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have adjustments every year for CPI
Mhm.
in all our contracts. So we'll be gaining on those.
Is there a certain, I think you may have answered this in the past, but is there a certain percentage that we allow of a certain type of garbage so that it doesn't eat up capacity? And have we gotten close to that?
So our current contracts, over half our waste is from within our county, being our local transfer station and our 3 large mills in town. And the large mills with some of their waste profiles make it a little bit more difficult. But from outside waste coming in, we try not to do over, 3 to 5% of petroleum contaminated soils, just so we're not getting hard layers within the debris. And we're looking at what type of one-off materials we bring in because there's certain waste we want and certain waste we just don't want. And so we'll say, thank you, no, thank you.
And also the time of the year.
Mhm.
A lot of dirt jobs do like to come to us in the winter months for some reason, but it just makes a really messy working face for us. So we really just want dirt, the dry months, usually, May through September.
We need a plastic recycling plant.
Up there on a windy day, yeah, I agree with you.
That'd go great in this county.
Yeah, there's so much debris. Seems like half the stuff we drop in the landfill from MSW is a plastic. So we have fences that we just got, I believe earlier this year, we have 10, 20-foot fences. I think they're 20 feet tall also.
Yeah.
That we put around in certain directions. We know the wind's blowing a certain way and try to collect as much of that debris before it flies off the open face. Because we have videos of, tips that half the load is just not even landing, it's just flying across.
Taken off.
Yep.
I'll be
And
darned.
then we spend lots of hours cleaning stuff that's outside the face into the trees, creeks, roads.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
someone's always picking garbage at the landfill. So those fences do help if they have prevailing wind.
Mike, you said we gained 10 feet of capacity. Do we have a program where we compact that or does that just happen naturally?
We,
So on the surveys, the natural routing of the material, we will be going back over that and refilling it in future cells or as we do additional fill levels going up the hill.
Before it compacted that 10 feet down, how thick was it to begin with when it lost 10 feet?
So that area is about 120 feet thick.
So you lost somewhere in the neighborhood of almost 8%, 10%.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And those were all compacted with a 130,000 pound machine, multiple time passes.
Yeah.
And then we tarp it, and then we lost the 10 feet after the tarp went on board. So that's after compaction.
Oh,
So if you
wow.
come back around to add to it, you have to remove that tarp
We do,
Mhm.
yeah.
and then start again.
Yes, yeah. And so our permit allows us to go to a certain height elevation at the landfill. So when that drops, we now gain that much airspace back. So our next flight, we probably won't lose 10 again, but we may lose 5 or something like that. So we know we can go another 15 feet in that area.
How long does it continue to compact like that on its own?
It's kind,
Depends on
It's-
whatever's in there or rot.
yeah, and it's usually not a straight line either. It's pretty,
Pretty quick.
yeah. You know, looking back at some of the long-term cells like cell 7 or cell 6 that we haven't been in for quite some time, we're seeing maybe a half a foot.
Yeah, okay.
And some of the cells earlier that were put in by Weyerhaeuser, you get
Mhm,
zero
zero.
because it's all industrial waste.
What do you compact it with right now? A roller or a?
So we're compacting, if we turn to.
I see you.
Wait,
Yeah, you're gonna see a
okay,
picture. We can
yeah,
put-
some pictures coming.
You already, you.
I'm asking for a new one.
So it's called it's a Caterpillar compactor. It's an 836K. They're about 130,000 pound machines. They're steel wheels that have hoofs all around it. And it's pretty much the industry standard for that. It's the largest one they make. The 836 itself, they also have a 26 and a 16, but we need the big ones.
How much did you say that thing weighs?
About 130,000 pounds.
Dang.
And they're about $2 million.
Yeah.
A few years ago, they're about
Close there.
1.4.
Yeah, they've gone up in price.
Yeah.
Yeah, metals have gone up.
But yeah, they're articulated bodies, and I think staff really enjoys running those compared to the last legacy machine we have there.
So we move forward to some of the revenues and expenses at the landfill.
You know, the slide for solid waste revenue is pretty much what we all expect to see. We have some grants coming in from our LaSWIFA funding, about 180,000 interest. It's going to differ depending on how much we have available in the fund balance. And then our tipping fees, our user fees, you know, it's $28.2 million, and that's our main driving factor. That's what we run.
And you may see that's a little bit lower than this last year, but that's what we have contracted.
That's
So
our-
that's our kind of our minimum. So we get the one-off jobs, the dirt jobs, C&D jobs, that will just
Mhm.
go up from there. But that's what we know for sure we're going to be getting through the scales.
Okay.
So it could be closer to 29.5, 30 on a good summer, good year.
The contracts that we have, when are they up for renegotiating?
So we have a variety of contracts. You know, our longest one is with Nippon, and that'll be 2044. That's with the purchase of the landfill. So we have other short-term ones. We have interlocal agreement ones that are by convenience. So the shortest one could be a 90 days notice if we wanted to give that. Our county ones usually run on like Pacific County's a 5-year, West Rock has a renegotiated auto renewal terms within those, but we have a nice schedule of those we can share with you if you like.
Yeah, we can get you all the contracts with expiration dates or automatic renewals in there or by convenience. So a lot of our interlocals with the counties are by convenience, like he said. So is that Lewis and Mason?
Correct.
Yeah, so they'll keep coming till we both say no.
Or they decide to say no to
Yeah.
us.
But with the transportation costs from them, it's saving them a lot of money by coming to our landfill. Next slide.
So next up is our expenditures. Broken out into some summary categories I think are interesting to everyone here. Transferring out to our capital and closure costs is about $9.1 million a year. Our transfer station operations are about $6.3 million a year to keep that running. The lease payments about $7.5 million. In our landfill operations, we have budgeted about $8 million, a little over, which brings us to just shy of 31 million, which is a difference from our previous screen. As Mike said, our revenues are budgeted what we know we're going to be bringing in. On a normal year, we usually see 20 to 30,000 tons of one-off material coming through. That's where most of our difference is made up at. Additionally, our capital costs are just increasing. Construction and equipment is what drives that life of the landfill.
Do you have,
Capital closures, is that for both landfills?
That's just for
Just
headquarters.
for headquarters?
Tenant Way is fully funded.
do you have those dollar amounts?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Have too many pieces of paper over here, I'm sorry.
Kathy, I know you told me before, but how much longer in our bond for that up there, roughly?
Where's the bond up to 2032?
I know we paid 2.5 million a year on them.
Yeah, for some reason it's 2032 or 2034? 2030, early, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I believe it's 2030 is
Is-
the,
Is when that comes due, so we're about 5 years, 6 years, 5 years away? Oh, okay.
because they were 2022 bonds.
Mm.
So,
And I think about, was it
Yeah.
still the same amount of 2.4 million? About,
yeah, it's about 2.4 million a year
Yeah.
on the bond
But-
payment.
Sooner than I thought. That's good. Okay.
And just to run down some closure numbers, headquarters closure and post-closure, we have about $34 million in there currently. Tenant Way closure is approximately 9.7. And that's 10 years into closure already. We do have some activities that need to happen there. Update wiring, flare updates as we continue to move on. The flare on there is 30 years old, so we'll see something along that coming in the near future. Just keep it closed and keep it clean.
What's the post-closure cycle time frame for Tenant Way?
Tenant Way is 30 years.
30.
Headquarters is 55.
So what side's the time frame? How do you define closure? Or how does the state define closure?
So closure is going to be the actual topping of the landfill itself. So that 2-foot layer of material, be it geosynthetics, clay liners, another geosynthetic dirt, and then the organics on top of it's going to be the closure, as long, including drainage, gas systems that need to be put in, anything of that nature. The post-closure is going to be maintaining that system for those years.
At the end of those years, then what?
We'll see if it's cleaned enough to not do it.
To walk away from?
And then if it's not, we get to continue to maintain it.
It becomes a housing development.
Well, I'm just thinking. Homeless camp.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
I was
yeah.
thinking a Top Golf,
That's
get those
good.
long drives off the top.
Yeah.
and if there's excess money at that point and they deemed it closed, does it go back to the general fund?
It does.
Up there will probably become the Wild Horse Farm.
That's true. So once again, we have an additional handout on that, that Sean provided that says solid waste fund and summary. It's a little bit smaller font on top there, but same concept with the pink items being some of the little differences, but the first ones, of course, are the labor cost. But then we have, other ones going down, rock and sand and miscellaneous O&M.
Mhm. Yeah, so like Mike said, we have, our transfers out to fund our closure, post-closure and equipment. We are bringing that back down. We had a little increase there when we saw the price of cell 10. Direct labor, labor agreements. Retirement, same thing we saw on roads. We got that discount on the PERS system. So we're excited to see that. We are seeing our rock and needs increase annually. Yeah, I know we came in before the board earlier this year to ask for that, building roads, making sure the access into the landfill is adequate. Operating supplies, that could be a variety of items. It might be tarps, it might be some piping. Could be whatever they need to keep the place running.
Did we liquidate? Have we liquidated that 200,000 for this year? I'm assuming that's
We
why we're
have.
at 350 for next year.
I don't know if we received the final invoice. We did have another purchase of piping material for our drainage come in. And that should have liquidated that line. And then the last one, of course, I'm sure we're gonna see this everywhere, is our insurance charges. Everyone's insurance rates are insurance rates. Some of the other items that aren't highlighted, that are big cost on here, of course, is the lease. our payments to waste control to operate the transfer station. You can see that from our transfer station operations slide to the supplemental. We do have about $500,000 of additional costs. That may be credit card fees, taxes, our household hazardous waste program, tire recycling, things that aren't part of the transfer station operations.
I see meals and lodging. We got people living at the landfill.
We do have certifications up there. We are required to have MOLO certification, and we're trying to expand that to more people. And I think we have 5 currently, and we have to have annual trainings to maintain those certifications.
Okay.
One major expenditure that was going to be on here was cell 10 development. We're in cell 9 now, and I believe is it 14?
It is about 14 and a half.
$14 million to build our next cell. We're bumping that out. We have enough capacity in our current cell to be there a couple more years. So we're bumping that out, I believe, hopefully to 2027. So next year you'll see a fairly large expenditure item to build that next cell.
So
How big is the next cell?
Actually, cell 10 is one of our smaller cells. It is a corner cell, so it has 2 slopes on it. So the volume of it is reduced. Cell 11 and 12 are very small footprints, but they're 2 of the largest cells because of how they lay back on all the previous cells. So smaller cost on 11 and 12 in the future with a significant increase in volume. Cell 10 being a large footprint, but being a double corner is more expensive with a lower volume. But overall, they all build together.
So you got about a $2 million reduction, and that's primarily because of your transfers out.
Yep. And now we're into picture time. So this is a picture of the compactor we're talking about. Would be the last new piece of equipment in the landfill for some time. We want to have 3 compactors on site so that when we do need to refurbish a compactor in the future, that we have 2 available and have 1 on rotation for refurbishing. It's about 60 to 70 cents on the dollar to have it refurbished instead of being new. It does come back with a new VIN on it as well. So it's pretty much a brand new machine. You're just keeping that body together.
Wow, they give it a new VIN and everything.
Yeah, it's a full rebuild on those refurbishments.
Wow.
So it's once we have the number we need to operate. The last one we bought was 52, 56 weeks. It's sounding better now, though. So they were being built out of Brazil. They're now being built out of Texas.
Well, I do remember the last order we placed it way, way ahead of
Yeah.
time because you guys had a long wait time.
Correct.
Yeah. So we do have 2 of these on site currently, and this would be the 3rd one added to the fleet. We would get rid of our last blue machine, I like to call them. They're undersized, and they came from either Tenant Way or early landfill years.
Is there a resale market for those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we actually just sold one.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not for a lot of money.
No. The one we sold was a Aljon 500. It's a very light one. I think it was only about 60,000 pounds, so about half the size. And it came from Tenant Way. So it's seen its years.
And did you say 65 cents on the dollar?
Yeah, 60 to 70, depending on what they find.
It's like 1.2 million to rebuild one. I guess,
Good deal.
Wonder if I can get a rebuild with a new VIN number.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
So the anticipated cost on this is a little over $2 million. Next slide, if you would.
oh, sorry.
We also have a request for a used haul truck, a 30-ton haul truck. We're estimating about $200,000 on this. In 2025, we rented this vehicle twice. It was approximately $28,000 to rent it.
We do a lot of road building there, a lot of rock moving. These actually can be driven out onto the fill, unlike our 10-yard dump truck. These are about 3 times the size of a dump truck, and we can actually take it out. When we do gas lines, we can actually take the rock right to the gas line rather than dumping it with a 10-yarder, then picking it up with a loader and then walking that out in the fill. This saves us a lot of time and effort. So this last year, we decided we'd start renting it to see how well it worked, and we're a lot more efficient.
So you spent a little over 50 grand just to rent last year?
27,
Oh, 27.
27 and
We
a
just
half
rented
thousand.
twice, but the total cost was 27,000.
Oh, total
Yeah.
cost was 27, okay.
We just rented it one time for a month and a couple
Yeah.
weeks the other time. Just making sure we're on some major projects.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to have one year round up there.
So when you're looking at the cost of new or even used equipment, do you check and see what it would cost to rent one of these things by comparison and see what the payout would be on it?
Yeah, and so when we were renting this year, that was only twice this year. I think if we owned one, we'd be utilizing it more frequently. But on those 2 times we rented it for, one was about a month and the other one was about 2 weeks. It was about $27,500.
And new haul trucks run between $500 to $600,000.
Okay,
So we figured we didn't need a brand new one up there, but we need something that was going to break down a lot. So something with maybe 4,000 or 5,000 hours on it, something that came maybe off a lease.
So what do you need to get, if you're at 27, you probably need to get 8 years or something out of it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You think that's reasonable?
Yeah, I think so. Most of the equipment we have up there is either came from Tenant Way other than our compactors, or it was a hand-me-down from Weyerhaeuser. Like we still have the service truck from Weyerhaeuser that we're utilizing, water trucks. So,
Water trucks, yeah.
so if it's 7 or 8 years, it could actually turn out to be more than that. Because it
Okay.
doesn't leave the fill. It won't get tons of hours as in like road miles, but so.
Yeah.
I think a really good example for comparison would be our loaders up there. It's the same type of use case. You'd be using them pretty much in tandem, and those are from 1999.
Oh, they were not, from 1999.
25 years, yeah. The next request is for a steel drum roller. So this is for compacting our roads after we built it or after we've refurbished it with the grader. We've rented this piece of machinery again this year. This is not one we own. We rented it approximately 7 times for varying amounts of time, and we spent $25,000 on those rentals this year.
And we have about 125 trucks a day up there, as you know, and they are on pavement on the 1600, but once they leave pavement and go on the dirt road or rock roads, and they're actually usually climbing a hill loaded, and so they're churning up that road the entire time. So we're out there weekly with the grader rebasing that road. And certain times of the year, we have to get the roller out there to really compact that, to make it worthwhile for us to keep that road open. So instead of renting it, it just makes sense for us to buy our own at the landfill.
so this is a new or used one?
This will be a used one also.
Mhm.
Yeah. And probably not the one in the picture. That's probably a couple $100,000 roller.
Or any of these used equipment we're picking up got any type of warranty left on them when we get them?
Usually not.
Probably not, yeah, okay.
But usually we send our maintenance, our ER&R crew, they'll go on a site visit before we buy anything, especially off auction. When we bought our last service truck, we actually flew to Pennsylvania
I think so.
to look at it and spend the night there and came back. It's worth a couple $1,000s to go look at a piece of equipment with a mechanic before especially when we're going to spend, $60,000 or $200,000 on something used. Because a lot of times we don't find these locally, or at least we do. It might be at Ritchie Brothers, but they may only have a couple of them and they're maybe not up to the standards that we want. So we have to travel the West Coast or possibly back to the East Coast to find something quality enough.
And our personnel have the ability to work on all these things. We don't have
Yes.
to like take it to CAT.
Correct, yeah.
Hmm.
We try to keep with the Cat brand
Mhm.
best we can. Our last excavator was a John Deere, but still familiar with our staff.
And the reason behind it, we want our service, if we do need to have a third-party service come in, they're local enough that they can respond in a timely manner.
So those are our only three requests for equipment for the landfill this year. Move on to, we have water sewer, ER&R, and shooting range to end with. So we have quite a few systems managed. I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday and, the last few months, but, between water and sewer, Riderwood, Camelot, Tootle, Woodbrook, Tootle River View, Port of Longview. I think we talked about yesterday during the rate setting, our proposed rates of 4% increase, but also we have about 1,350 customers looking at no new personnel or no new equipment requests for them. And Sean can talk about the projects we have in progress.
And you guys have been very helpful with the ARPA dollars. So we are into 3 of our projects are either ongoing. Meters, Savannah talked about earlier today, and the install of those meters. We use ARPA dollars for purchasing those. We have the Tootle water low pressure zones that's in progress. That's gonna be Juanita Way area. We have the Tootle wastewater plant improvements, and that's what this is a photo of. That's the Tootle wastewater plant. That's not a track there. Upcoming projects, on Tuesday, you guys sent the Camelot loss system out for bid. The Redwood emergency water system is prepping to go. And then, of course, we have Shadow Mountain, which is in progress, but will need to be completed before the end of 2026. And those are the main capital projects going on. Budget-wise, we're starting off the year anticipated at $1.4 million. Our revenues, which are mainly funded through our user fees, once again, the customer base is looking at 2.7 million. Labor and benefits are 1.2. We have our transfer to capital reserve of 750 we've held there. That may need to be adjusted in the future. Supplies, about 512,000, and services at 826,000. Supplies, our main supply we buy is water. For our Tootle water system, we buy water out of the Castle Rock Regional Utility System, which we are participate in. And we have a meeting on that next week, I believe. Services vary significantly depending on our needs for the year, but we can get into some of that as well. Our ending fund balance, we are spending down our ending fund balance, and we're cognizant of that. We will be looking at rate studies, as we talked about yesterday, and capital planning studies to see if we can reduce our capital fees, what we're transferring over, and we're cognizant of that.
Where do you like to see it?
I would like to see 2 months of expenditures as our ending fund balance. In our operations side, our capital side, we have approximately $5 million right now. We will spend some of that on Shadow Mountain and through our other capital projects. We want to continue to grow that, but we also always have the option of debt and other grants available to us as we try and upgrade our system or update our system as much as possible.
Is there any debt service out on these systems?
I believe we have one debt remaining. I think it's a Department of Commerce water grant. Maybe it's sewer grant. We in the past, we've had 4 to 5 at a time. We have paid those off. If we were to have done the capital projects we are doing with the ARPA dollars, we would have needed to fund those through debt at that time as well. So on to the other supplemental for water sewer, really lay out what our detailed spending is for water sewer. It's gonna be the water sewer fund summary item. Kind of talking through our chemicals, the highlighted items are chemicals, water for resale, that's what we talked about. Of course, insurance again, our internal service fund repairs and maintenance, we are dropping that down. That's when the roads department comes out and digs holes so the water sewer can fix the pipes. We're looking at doing less there. Taxes is always an item that's going up. We're looking from 72 to 80 on that one. And then credit card fees, going up from 11,600 to 15 to 16 and 27. Trying to hold as much status quo as possible on here until we get our studies completed.
Did we use the credit cards more? Are we planning on using them more? Are we planning on issuing more cards? And or is that just, they just say, hey, we're gonna go from 7% to 12?
So yeah, that's the fee we incur. We do pass on some fee to the customer when they use a credit card to pay on water sewer, but we do incur some of that.
Chemicals. Please tell me no fluoride.
It's chlorine, sodium bicarbonate, chlorine, those type of chemicals, so all of that stuff, not for.
No fluoride hearings for us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's on the last slide. We're proposing fluoride in the,
How did we have $120,000 reduction in water resale?
We over budgeted last year.
Okay.
We put a higher dollar value in because we have not had that meeting yet. We put in what we've spent for this year.
Okay.
Once we have that meeting, we may have an adjustment there.
Susan, you talked a little bit yesterday and it piqued my interest of what you think that number was, because in my opinion, we don't have reserves. If we had a major thing out there, we'd have to find a way to fix it. And you talked about at least having reserves that would cover our commitment if we got grant funds.
Yes, that's our capital budget, so when,
Is that what we try to shoot for? What would be our?
yeah, that 750 that
our
we're
part of
putting
it.
in, yes, that would be our part of it, or that 750 goes to pay off our debt.
Okay, do you think that 750 would cover our part if we had a major at this time, or are we still short?
so I believe we have
Or
about
is that hard? to
5
tell?
million in there now.
We have 5 million approximately.
We're about 5 million that in that reserve that 750 is going into.
Oh, okay, so that reserve right now has 5 million into it. This is just for this coming budget.
Need to put more in there, correct? Yeah. But 5 million is still probably,
So if we had to
Not
put a 10% participation or something in this stuff, that would cover like 50 million. Would that cover a major
Yes,
thing out there?
with the systems that we have, yes, because we have smaller systems and our plants aren't a $50 million plant not like Turwa's projects that's going on right now. We have a much smaller operation.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better.
If we were to replace one of our sewer plants, what's a general figure? Like if we were to do Woodbrook? Sorry, I'm just catching you off guard here, Susan. Rough number.
We're looking 20 to 30, I would say, would be my guess. Don't hold me to that. really have to go back. There was a study done a few years ago, I'm talking 10, 15, a few years ago. But that we're redoing that right now.
So
Oh.
that's what we're working on. I'm kind of getting the Commissioner Rader's point where we want to be in a position where we don't have to do huge increases. So that's where I'm kind of leading and getting a little comfort zone. If we're kind of there, we think they're there.
And that's one of the projects that is actually ongoing right now is we are working on the Woodbrook alternatives of what is the best way and what type of system do we need to replace that plant with? Because that plant has been deemed by ecology that that sewer treatment plant is no longer meeting the permit requirements, so we need to be in the process of replacing it. So that will be our next big project, doing a Woodbrook sewer.
So in this study you're doing is gonna kind of address all that and we'll get a number from that?
Yes, it'll have a
Okay.
planning number in it, and we are getting an alternatives analysis done. So we're looking at the alternatives of putting in a bunch of pump stations and pumping it to the Beacon Hill system so that it'll then go down to Terwa, putting in a comparable plant to what we have now, or putting in a package plant is what they call them. So we're going to have the cost benefit analysis on all of those, and we'll be able to go with a selection, get ecology's buy-in, and then start moving forward. The grant cycles are in the summer for those to apply for years moving forward.
I think I'm just a little sensitive because I think our systems, like we're out in Riderwood, we're serving an older population that's sitting on retirement income or social security or something, and I don't want to have to surprise them with a huge pop one year.
And as we find those fundings, either once we get the number for those plants, we'd be able to address that as well if we need to do any debt issuances in addition to grants.
Okay.
And we're being fairly aggressive on the capital reserve. I mean, out of the
Yeah.
$0.8 million in revenue, 750,000 is going to reserve. So a quarter of your money's going there. There's just not a lot of revenue coming in to put aside. So we're putting the
Yeah.
maximum amount we can. There's just
Yeah.
not a lot there.
And I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good plan,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it does draw down our ending fund balances. It's
yeah,
one way or the other. So
okay.
What causes you said that we're dealing with a pump station right now that doesn't meet the code to get permitted again. Is that based on output, quality of water? Why is it good enough for one permit at one point, but not the other?
So it's the wastewater treatment plant, and the reason it's no longer meeting the standards is because the amount of flow has exceeded your design value, and it is no longer meeting the total suspended solids, the BOD, and the volume that we're outputting treated to the levels that ecology requires. This is an old lagoon system that was put in the 70s that was not meant to last more than 30 years, and we're past 50. So we're at the point where we need to do something to have it meet standards.
Standards go up all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
two more smaller, I wouldn't say smaller, but two more slides and departments here. ER&R.
Helps turn it back on. ER&R, we talked about motor pool earlier. ER&R, just want to give a little update. It's an internal fund established to fund the ongoing replacement and continued maintenance costs required by RCW. As we talked about rates yesterday, it's literally to fund the maintenance and replacement of our equipment. We do have 3 requests for equipment replacements. And the first one is a 3/4 ton pickup with a signboard on it. So that's why we're seeing a little bit higher cost on there. So, one of our sign trucks, a 1-ton flatbed truck, which would be outfitted to, carry a crane on it and all the sign material to fix large signs on the side of the road. And then a water truck as well. We're just up for the end of life on there. Some of the controls are no longer adequate, and staff's recommended that that's time for that one to be replaced. So we don't have any dollars and cents on here right now. All of this is funded through the road fund on that hourly rate that we discussed yesterday. And currently the balance is about $4.6 million in there, and that is all to replace equipment in the future.
So these 3 requests have been fully funded and
Mhm.
have monies available to replace them.
Well, interestingly enough, I attended the capital fund budget for the, or capital budget review today for the Port of Longview. And they found a new water truck and detailed out in great detail how much it would cost to rent it per month.
Yeah.
And the payout on it, and they're gonna buy one for $180,000. So I hope you find one like that.
Yeah, depending on their needs, we have
Yours might hold more water.
that and different valve systems because we do, most of ours is used for flushing roads after oil rocking and also getting leaves and debris off the roadway. So it might be for a completely different usage than what they need a water truck for, but maybe we get a 2-for-1 special with them.
Yeah. Get a discount.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy one, get one free. Tell them you want the free one.
And that we did give you the detail for ER&R's expenses as well. Not a lot, has pretty much no significant changes on there, nothing I really highlighted. The value that changes the most throughout the years is usually the machinery equipment request, the very last line. And that's the 3 pieces of equipment we just talked about. Other big items is, our parts inventory, the miscellaneous O&M, that's where you get our parts brought in, inventory those parts, and then use them on vehicles. Fuel for gasoline or diesel, and then repairs and maintenance, keeping everything going.
Yeah, pretty status quo, 4.1 million this year to 3.96, 3.97. So not a lot of changes in ER&R's expenses.
You got a lot of gas powered rigs up there at the landfill. I mean, I see your gas budget is bigger than the diesel.
Yeah, so for ER&R, all of our non-dump trucks, we actually prefer because of the idle hours on them. They'll be, sitting on the side of the road with their signboard up or lights out or something of that nature, and they're idling the entire time. And for a diesel engine, all those idle hours is not great, especially with the emission systems on them nowadays.
Good.
And our last item today we have is shooting range. The budget is the same as last year. He also got a supplementary sheet on that. It's only, I think, 6 or 7 line items long. It's $52,000. Over the last few years, we've done some major projects there at the shooting range, as you know, 2 trap house expansions, restrooms that include water and electrical out there near the trap houses, paving the parking lots and the entrances. We also added guardrail to those entrances, repainted the clubhouse last year, and also fence repair around the perimeter of the gun range. And just to give you some volume there, the last calendar year that we got numbers through June 2025 was about 5,400 visitors there. As you know, their current lease expires at the end of this year. We're hoping to come back to you in the next week or so. We have some more meetings planned with county departments. And also I do have a meeting planned with Game and Anglers tomorrow, just to give them some feedback from what we're looking at moving forward. And we'll hopefully give you guys a good rundown. And like I said, next Wednesday or the Wednesday after with another department with us to give you a game plan of what it looks like in the future at the gun range. And most of the expenses on that $52,000 we do garbage service, some maintenance out there.
Water, sewer, garbage, utilities based. If we need to come in with our staff to repair fences, repair rock, gravel areas, things of that nature. Of course, there's no capital improvements as we don't have any large scale projects going anymore.
Savannah, are you in that picture anywhere? Oh, yeah, I thought you would be.
I think she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the right, blue jeans and a flannel.
Oh, yeah. Human.
I took the picture, so I wasn't in it. They don't allow me to shoot.
No?
Well, at least they allow Sean to shoot.
I was gonna say, I hear old Deadeye over
Yeah.
They
Well,
don't let
he
me
should
go.
stop competing in the novice competition. He needs to move over to the expert.
We need a higher level for the county group then. We'll see you there.
My son beat me by one clay, so,
Oh,
yeah, and he ended up winning the, whatever division we were in, so,
awesome.
Good for him.
yeah.
All right.
Even better if you got to beat Dad.
Oh, he is. Believe me, you let me know. No, it's just, we're pretty competitive in my family and we love to rub that in, so.
Sure. So that's it for our presentation. I don't know if Kathy has anything to add from her side. No. Okay. Or any more questions from you guys? Great.
Pretty straightforward.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are you taking bets on when we're gonna have our first snow?
I was gonna say, I heard somebody report that they're expecting more possibilities of snow this year. I think is how it was put.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving? Well, all the ski resorts would like that.
Well,
I don't think I'm winning the bet of no snow at sea level this year.
the amount of fat on the animals that we've
Oh,
been harvested
yeah.
has been
Yeah.
thick, so.
Maybe not 15 million.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Okay, gentlemen, we will adjourn.